Hello everyone. Welcome back to the new session of Biology, Standard 11th, Chapter 15, that is excretion and osmoregulation. Last time we studied about urine formation. In that we studied about ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption and tubular secretion. Then we studied about concentration of urine. Today we'll start with composition of urine. If you see a normal urine, then you will find it is pale yellow colored transparent liquid. This color of urine is due to presence of a pigment called urochrome. Now, composition of urine actually depends upon the food and fluid which is consumed by an individual. There are two different ways in which in your body the composition of urine is formed. First way is regulation of water reabsorption through ADH. ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. And second way is electrolyte reabsorption through RAAS, that is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Let's study the first way, that is regulation of water absorption through ADH. We know about hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is present in midbrain. It has special receptors which are called osmoreceptors. Now these osmoreceptors, they can detect change in osmolarity of blood. If osmolarity of blood increases due to any reason, for example, after eating namkeen or due to sweating, or you can say water loss from the body, whatever condition it may be, the osmoreceptors, they trigger the release of ADH from neurohypophysis, that is from pituitary gland. Now this ADH, it stimulates the reabsorption of water from last part of DCT and entire collecting duct by increasing the permeability of cells. Now, due to this, reduction in urine formation takes place and there is decrease in osmolarity of blood. Now let's see this in a tree diagram. This is starting with hypothalamus. Hypothalamus contains receptors which are called osmoreceptors. Whenever there is change in osmolarity, these osmoreceptor triggers neurohypophysis, which is nothing but pituitary gland. This neurohypophysis then increases or releases ADH. This ADH shows its effect on DCT and collecting ducts, due to which a reabsorption of water takes place and it leads to decrease in osmolarity. Once the osmolarity of blood comes to normal, activity of osmoreceptor cells decreases, leading to decrease in ADH secretion. This is called negative feedback. In case of hemorrhage or severe dehydration, you will find osmoreceptors stimulate ADH secretion. ADH is important in regulating water balance through kidneys. In absence of ADH, diuresis, that is dilution of urine, takes place and person tends to increase large amount of dilute urine. This condition is called as diabetes insipidus. Now remember, ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone, is also called as vasopressin. and it has certain function. First one is it helps in decreasing the urine, it decreases sweating, then it increases blood pressure. And whenever ADH is released, dehydration takes place. And whenever ADH is inhibited, overhydration takes place in the body. Now let's see the second way, that is RAAS, renin angiotensin aldosterone system by JGA, that is juxtaglomerular apparatus. Whenever blood supply to afferent arteriole decreases, we already studied about it, due to change in blood pressure or blood volume. You can say, for example, if there is low blood pressure or if there is dehydration, then JG cells release a renin. This renin converts angiotensinogen, which is secreted by hepatocyte in liver, to angiotensin 1. Now, angiotensin converting enzyme modifies angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, which is the active form of hormone. That means angiotensin 1 is inactive, whereas angiotensin 2 is active. Angiotensin 2 has triple function. First, it constricts arterioles in kidney, thereby increasing blood pressure. That means it leads to vasoconstriction. Secondly, it stimulates PCT cells to enhance the reabsorption of sodium ion, chloride ion, and water. And third is it stimulates adrenal cortex to release another hormone which is called as aldosterone. This hormone stimulates DCT and collecting ducts to reabsorb more sodium ion and water, thereby increasing the blood volume or blood pressure. Now the question arises, would only ADH or only RAAS be sufficient for homeostasis? The answer is both ADH and RAAS are essential. Only ADH, what it will do, it will lower the blood volume, it will lower the sodium ion concentration by water reabsorption in DCT and collecting duct. Whereas RAAS, it stimulates sodium ion reabsorption. So thus what happens here, if both are active, both will work together, it maintains the osmolarity of body fluid. Now, action of ADH and RAAS leads to increase in blood volume or osmolarity. If there is a large increase in blood volume and blood pressure, what it does, it stimulates the atrial wall of heart to produce atrial natriuretic peptide, that is ANP. This ANP inhibits sodium ion and chloride ion reabsorption from collecting ducts. It also inhibits the release of renin and it reduces aldosterone and ADH release also. Now what happens due to RAS and ADH? There will be increase in blood pressure which will affect the heart. So heart will try to reduce it by secreting ANP. Now this leads to a condition which is called natriuresis. That means increased secretion of sodium ion in urine, and diuresis is also considered as low blood pressure, or you can say diabetes insipidus. Kidney participates in synthesis of calcitriol, that is the active form of vitamin D, which is needed for absorption of dietary calcium. If there is deficiency of calcitriol, it can lead to a disease, that is brittle bones. Now here what happens, your bones become so weak that it becomes prone to break. It can be broken down easily. So let's stop here. We'll continue in the next lecture. Let's see the summary quickly what we studied today. Today we studied about composition of urine. In that we studied two different ways or methods. The first method was a regulation of water absorption through ADH. Second was electrolyte reabsorption through RAAS. We'll continue in the next lecture. Till then, take care of yourselves. Thank you.